There's something so camp about modern German, though. You know what they call a mobile phone? It's just so typically camp. Mein Handy. Oh, wo ist mein Handy? Ich habe mein Handy verloren. Oh, that's my handy.
Are you hosting the BAFTAs this year?
No.
No? Oh, it's a shame, because I was going to say you should do it in that voice.
No, I'm welcome to the BAFTAs. Stop it! No. Who was it who made Chachoba famous?
Billy Connolly.
Billy Connolly, exactly, did a famous routine about Chachoba. What the fuck's that? Chachoba? Chachoba? He has a way of repeating words, Billy Connolly, that I remember many years ago. And the phone rang, and it was Billy Connolly. He didn't introduce himself. He just went, Benjamin Netanyahu? And I said, what? He said, Benjamin Netanyahu? And I said, sorry, who is this? He went, Benjamin Netanyahu? What's that about? For fuck's sake, Benjamin Netanyahu? And he put the phone down. I thought, it was Billy Connolly riffing on the name Benjamin Netanyahu. My grandfather always used to call Pythagoras Pythagoras because he was Hungarian, my grandfather. He said, you go to school, you'll learn about Pythagoras. And I was thinking, who's this Pythagoras? And I remember saying, and I came out, he said, did you do the Pythagoras? I said, no, we've not done any Pythagoras. He said, go, you ask your mathematics teacher, he must do the Pythagoras. And I said, are we going to do Pythagoras? He goes, shut up, Fry. So I did Pythagoras, and years later I discovered he meant Pythagoras. He used to pronounce pineapple upside down cake, Piniople opshide dovne tsoka. And then in the Australian Morning Bulletin, which of course is called The Bully, they said there was an error printed in a story titled Pigs Float Down the Dawson on page 11 of yesterday's Bully. The story by reporter Daniel Burden said that more than 30,000 pigs were floating down the Dawson River. Actually, what the owner of the piggery said was that 30 sows and pigs. We'd like to apologise for the error. There's a story of Brendan Byrne in Canada. Do you know this? He was on Canadian television and drunk, as he always was. They said, so what brings you to Canada, Mr. Behan? And he said, well, now, I was in a bar in Dublin and they had one of those coasters and it said on it, drink Canada dry, so I thought I'd give it a shot.
Do you watch too many of those horror films where it's always the phone call came from inside the house?
Yeah. Well, if they're not in the house, they can't get you. Your horror movies sound fine.
There's so many genres, and sometimes there's the cabin in the woods genre, and the high school ones. And
there's camp ones.
Camp ones, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, not camp in the sense of...
No.
Camp horror would be quite fun, wouldn't it? Ooh! Ooh!
You gave me a start.
What was the first invention to break the sound barrier?
Mae West vibrator. Cannonball, musket fire, catapults.
Whoa, hello.
Ooh.
No, not the cannonball.
They spelt it wrong, points to me. There's two ends in cannon, isn't there?
Three, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, one on the end, but
Yeah, yeah.
in the middle.
In the middle too, yes, yeah.
Otherwise, it's a ball of religion.
Yes, we thought it might be... Yeah, exactly. We thought it was Bobby and Tommy, you know.
Hey!
Hey! You're looking at me! Looking at me! Stop looking!
Alice McGowan, watch out!
Hey! Do you, those strange women on Desert Island Discs, did you ever hear Dinah Mosley?
No, she liked a bit of Wagner.
She did like Wagner, but she liked Hitler and met him many times. She said, well, what people don't understand is how funny he was. He was very funny. You know, his eyes were quite blue. Oh, yes, they were quite blue.
Makes it all right.
Quite blue. One scene never forgotten. Well, that's all right, then. I met her, and she said to me, of course, you never knew Hitler, did you? Well, you know, of course, guards were indeed very... There were lots of stories about men doing things with guardsmen in the 50s and 60s. And that story of Churchill who was woken up one morning when he was Prime Minister in the 50s. And he said, I'm afraid there's a bit of a scandal, Prime Minister. There's one of our backbench MPs was found with a guardsman in St James's Park in the bushes last night. by the police, and the papers have got hold of it. Churchill said, last night? He said, yes. Churchill said, very cold last night, wasn't it? And the PPA, who says, well, yes, actually, Prime Minister, I believe it was one of the coldest February nights for 30 years. Churchill said, makes you proud to be British. The voice of your forefathers there, the ancestors, isn't it? Keeping a welcome in the inside, isn't that? So, before we start...
Were they Pakistanis?
Stop it. Stop it right now. I'm going to lay down the law. Like the teacher's first day at school, he's strict just so that people are afraid of him.
Trying to get all umpteen.
Yes. Exactly.
Before we start.
Mocking my Welsh accent.
Northern Europe. From Cape Town. Welcome to the valleys in Cardiff.
This is my accent. You stop halfway through, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's gone all street now. Yeah, I stop halfway through, innit? That's like that.
Right, OK, all right.
Stephen Fry, yeah, QI, that's it.
The Titanic Museum in Belfast, which is quite good. They...
They'll now be using that on all of their
You better do a bit better there at Belfast now. Yeah, not good enough, really, for Alan.
That's one of his best ones.
What's Chewbacca like? Try and ignore, Stephen.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Yeah, but this particular chase happened, as I say, in '64, but in 1982, a man called Brian, which is a good Irish name, told the Liverpool Echo that he had been working in the park when some children saw him and mocked him for his height, or rather lack of it. And so, joining in the sport, he spoke in sort of sort of Irish gibberish. I know, I'm sorry, I'm doing what he did. Threw sods of earth at them, and they ran away frightened, thinking he was a leprechaun. So, because they called him a leprechaun.
Came back with their
they
brothers.
said, oh, you're a leprechaun. And he went, I am that. And so they all said, yeah, we saw a leprechaun. We saw, saw a real one. Saw a real leprechaun in the park. And so all these kids went, they all invaded it.
It's like a lost episode of Brookside.
In 2012, a paper called Gynecomastia in German Soldiers, Etiology and Pathology, looked at the number of breast reductions that were taking place among male members of the German army. 212 German soldiers have had this procedure.
Gosh.
Which is not inconsiderable, considering it being a male soldier. It's presumably embarrassing.
Yes, exactly. I just thought, wouldn't it go away?
Yeah, but the modern German army is... forget all your notions of the Nazi army. We're whole new peoples, We're very at ease with our inner woman, It's really... There's no embarrassment. I can show you my breasts. And I'm not embarrassed at all. It's fine.
Do you not think that's an incredibly sexy accent? It really is.
Levity was our theme.
Leviticus. So shellfish and...
Well, we didn't hear any shellfish, did
No, we didn't.
No.
Unless...
We
I'm
heard
not sure about
an
shellfish.
owl,
Yeah.
a beard being shaved, the rending of cloth, and a pig.
So they're all things prohibited.
Anything to do with a pig is forbidden.
Yeah.
Brian Blessed, you can't have Brian Blessed. No, Brian Blessed is not kosher. No. But instead in Glasgow they call it a stoner. Do you know what a stoner? Do you know what it means? Yeah, it means an erection. It means a stuffy, aye. That's the Scottish accent, apparently.
Which part of Scotland was that?
Well, the part I loved, there's a marvellous story about Maggie Smith when she was going to play Miss Jean Brodie, and she was going, oh, God, I can't do a bloody Scottish accent. And a friend of hers said, well, I've got an aunt who lives in Morningside, which is just the right area for Jean Brodie, that very refined Scottish accent. So call her up and, offer to take her out to tea. And so Maggie Smith called up and said, hello, my name's Maggie Smith. I don't know if you know the novel The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. She said, but I'm playing that character, and I'd love... Apparently you have a very, very charming Morningside accent, and I'd like to take you to tea, and maybe with a tape recorder. And there was a very frigid pause. She said, my dear, I have been told I have no accent whatever. Completely insulting. And there are Scots... I remember talking to one Scot who spoke a form of Scottish where he was convinced that everyone thought he sounded English. There is
absolutely nothing I am saying which ought to lead you to believe that I am Scottish. Absolutely every vowel is pure English, and yet it sounded more Scottish than the worst Glaswegian drunk in a Soho doorway.
Carry on. And you were doing so well.
Yes.
I know you. They are that voice. I don't know what goes there.
Really, I've got to say, Stephen, it's been a bewildering array of Scottish...
Another man I was very proud to have met, the Hammer film of the Witchfinder General, starred Vincent Price. You just wanted him to say things like, could you pass the mustard? I would really appreciate a I got him to say the line that I loved. It was from one of those films where he's kind of strangely bound up in some weird bandages. Pray speak quietly. Every sound you make is exquisite agony to me.
It's usually Australians. Australians get it right. I was on an Ansett flight from Perth to Adelaide, and he started off by saying, oh, we're on our way to Adelaide. Adelaide is not your final destination. Now would be an ideal time to deplane. And then he sort of started talking about the safety. He said, but that's enough yakety-yak from me. He said, it's time to push some service down the aisles and some scenery past the window. In the olden days,
yeah,
a certain class of person virtually ruled the roost in Britain, and that was an aristocrat.
Oh.
Yes, absolutely shocking people.
And you had to throw yourself into the gutter if one approached you.
Well, sometimes they had strong, stern and absurd moral views.
So they weren't allowed to walk?
Well, yes, if you
Side by
imagine,
side.
I'm not having the working classes next to each other in the street, because it can only lead to touching.
I know you think you're doing a voice, but that is how you talk.
A which popular game traditionally ends with all the players being thrown into a lake of fiery sulphur?
Well, I hope it's show jumping. I hate show jumping. Oh, God. I'd have one of those after every jump.
Is there any evidence that people are a bit more bonkers when there's a full moon?
No. It's very interesting. There's been a lot of research about it, and there's been a lot of anecdotal evidence that at loony bins you have to lock them up on a full moon, but actually there's absolutely no clear evidence whatsoever that people behave oddly in a moon.
So why do I go out killing?
Nonsense. What I want you to do, you've got ropes there, is just pull them apart. So you can take one each.
Can't be done.
Go on, pull them apart.
It can't be done.
Go on. There you go. Try. You can't,
It
can
can't
you?
be done.
You
on,
literally
Brian.
can't. It's quite extraordinary. Strong as Brian is,
Go on, try and pull, Brian, pull.
all it is...
Sean's alive!
How come your water wasn't spilt? That's magical.
Yes, it's an old trick. Me and Brian have been doing this trick for years.
But to conclude, I say and maintain that of all the tosh cool, arse wisps, bum fodders, tail napkins, bunghole cleansers, and white breeches, there is none in the world comparable to the neck of a goose that is well downed, if you hold her head betwixt your legs. And believe me therein upon mine honour, for you will thereby feel in your knockhole a most wonderful pleasure.
Yes.
Both in regard of the softness of the said down
Yes.
and of the temperate heat of the goose, which is easily communicated to the bum gut and the rest of the inwards, insofar as to come even to the regions of the heart and brains.
So I love that. Why do we need swear words when you've got knockhole?
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
Yep.
Is it alive?
I fear it probably is.
Yes, I believe that adds the frisson
It has to be alive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When he
Because
said
then
it
you
was
can
warm.
turn it and laugh in its face. Imagine now, because there's charming, there's double-layered toilet paper now, isn't there?
There is.
The Americans would probably use 2 geese's necks, wouldn't they? To get that extra softness.
People have been saying for years, why are geese so angry? What's wrong with geese? Why are they so furious?
No, we know.
If there were one animal that I was never going to put anywhere near my bum, it would be a goose.
There's so many other choices of animals you don't want near
Scorpion.
your knob hole.
No, that can be fun. Get the scorpion to do it.
Yeah.
And he can get all those tricky little nibble bits.
And what's another name for the common cormorant? Yes, Rory.
Sea crow.
Oh, very good. It is. That's the right answer. Any other?
The Latin name is Phylacrocorax.
What were you gonna say?
Can I just give the Latin name? The cormorant is the Phylacrocorax carbo. The shag is Phylacrocorax aristotelis. It doesn't have the white face and the...
This is brilliant. I mean, this is everything I've got written down.
Tosser much?
Do you remember anything he said?
No, not a word. He said something about calcium. There's a tree with a funny name. I don't know. Koalas invented rice. He's a robot.
The reason sea crow is the actual word cormorant comes from Corvus marinus, which is the Latin for sea crow.
Old swatty.
Yeah. The Phylacrocorax graculus would be... It's the crested cormorant, isn't it? Yes, because the graculus is a jackdaw.
No, a jackdaw is Corvus monedula.
Yes, but it's another word. It's the actual Latin name. The actual Latin name for a jackdaw was graculus.
OK, so let's not fall out over this, Stephen.
No, it's what... No, I'm saying real Latin. No, you might be interested. Roman people actually call birds things before they want. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Something down there.
Sorry about that. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Come on, Sean.
There's a portal into the underworld here. It's ridiculous.
Did you have an imaginary friend when you were young?
I'm not aware of it.
No, your mother would
They
have
didn't
told
used
you.
to come around much.
Imaginary friend
That doesn't play with
An
you.
imaginary friend who cut you dead.
Yeah, I wanted to be his friend.
That's so sad.
He just wasn't interested.
Although, it must be said, a certain proportion of them are malevolent. Some people have imaginary friends who scare their children, which is a very worrying thought. A nasty imaginary friend.
I hear voices.
What's that, though? Do you?
But I ignore them and I just carry on killing.
How upset are the Germans about the 1966 World Cup?
Well, very, I would say. Well, they would be, for surely, I would have thought, a proud nation like the Germans.
They were upset at the time, but I said, how upset are they? They barely remember it. They won. But they, in 1974, beat the Dutch, and that, to them, was the one they really, really care about.
But they surely, the Dutch have never provided a great deal of opposition to them. Generally, in history, they've just walked into Holland whenever they fancied it.
Oh, in that sense.
Any time they want, they just go into Holland, which is just like spin the windmill. I haven't mentioned it yet. Come on. I was talking about the great Geschmerz-slip in 1762, where they just walked into Holland, but they can just enter. Oh, I'll mention the War of Holland. You have to. Surely they're denying their true rivalry, which will be with us.
Why?
They're in denial.
We may think that, but it's up to them to decide. I mean, you can't
Well,
force a
they're
German to care about whether they beat
Well,
us
they
or not.
bloody well should.
What they should really get rid of is that awful noise of trainers on the floors. Have you ever watched it on television? Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Drives me mental.
Yes, well, that's right.
That's why I kill.
That's why you kill.
I've swum with dolphins as well, and it is quite an extraordinary experience. Very good.
It's terrible when they reject you. That's horrible. And all your family and all your therapists are standing on the beach. It's freezing cold. And there's loads of dolphins just pissing off back to the sea. And then you look round and you go... I suppose we just better carry on with the medication then. No, Sean.
If they rejected you, Sean...
I mean, at least we tried. Can I have a towel?
Where would you put your ladder if you wanted to get into space?
On top of the spaceship, on a rack. A red flag hanging off of it so some other spaceships don't follow you too closely.
You're saying where you put the ladder, you'd assume, I suppose, the obvious answer is you'd put it on the highest point, like Everest.
Yes, that wouldn't...
It'd be a bit bumpy, wouldn't it? You couldn't get a good foothold on it.
It's sometimes called a space ladder. It's more commonly called a space elevator. It is a genuine idea that has been worked on, and many people believe would have saved the space program an enormous amount of money in various ways, was to build a huge elevator that goes from Earth and is counterweighted at the other end and spin round incredibly fast. But it would be an equivalent of geostationary orbit at the end of it, and you would have elevators on it that would go up and down. But the important point is you would have to do it on the equator, where the Earth goes at its fastest. Because it's the bit, you know, like the end of a record goes faster than the middle, obviously.
What about a series of trampolines? They have a huge trampoline, and then up higher up there's another one about half a mile up, and then another one. So it's like a staircase of trampolines going up into space, and then there's a big bouncy castle at the top. And a bloke charging you £1, and you've got to take your shoes off. I'd tell you the best way to get into space. I would tell you, I've just realised it, and it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. I'm going to be so rich. Bubble. A bubble. Get in a bubble, just float up there.
One day.
I mean, a big bubble. I'm not talking about... Not talking about those bubbles you see and think, that's not a bubble. Stupid little one. You call that a bubble, mate? You want to come and see my bubble? No, a big bubble, you get in the bubble and off you go.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Who wants in?
Me.
This is like the Dragon's Den for cranky ideas. I had a strange experience when I was in Australia recently, and I went to a day out to the zoo, and they give you a koala to hold, and you have a photograph taken of it. And koalas are very lazy animals. They don't exactly work out. You know what I mean? They haven't got firm buttocks or anything. And I had one in my hand, and it kind of just slipped. And before I knew it, I actually had a sort of koala's buttocks. It was actually slipped onto my finger. And it just sort of slid on, and there's... On the photograph, because they take a photograph of you, you're supposed to hold a koala, and the koala goes this, goes... The worst thing was, they wanted it back, and I said, well, can I hold it for a bit longer? And I was trying to get the finger out, and I said, can I take it away?
The list of charges is beginning to add up, isn't it? What do bananas grow on? Yes.
Well, they're monocotyledons, and they grow up like that, and they grow on banana trees, they call them, but they're not really trees.
They're not trees. No, take it back, studio. 15 for that.
Oh,
they are a herb, distinguished by not having a woody stem, essentially, and by dying back after seeding.
They walk.
I'm sorry?
Banana plants, whatever you want to call them, walk.
Nurse, he's out of bed again.
They walk, they move. I've been to Colombia, I travelled to Colombia, and I went to a banana plantation.
If you go to Colombia, you see, these things will happen.
I went to a banana plantation, and I said, hold on a minute. To the guy. Why? He said, that big patch to the left of the field. He said, because the plants, they walk, and they need a lot of room. So you need lots of room, because plants, they move, they walk. So they have to make the field slightly larger than you plant a strip, and then you leave a strip, because they just move across, like that.
I shall have...
You know, like Betty and Keppel in the water?
Sean... as Clive said, the banana plant is actually a herb because the stem does not contain woody tissue. And the banana fruit is technically a berry, in fact, or a juicy ovary containing seeds to you. Now, what sort... Yes. Stop it. Oh, you're giggling in the back row, miss. The intelligent voice in my ear tells me you're absolutely right, Sean. They do walk. They walk up to 40 centimetres in a lifetime.
Yes!
When first, the chicken or the egg?
There's that wonderful old joke about chicken and egg have just made love, and they're lying there having a bit of a post-coital cigarette. And the chicken says to the egg, well, that answers that old question. You know, the Irish cure for a cold, my dad always used to say, what you do is you get into bed with a hat and a bottle of whiskey, and you put the hat on the end left bedpost, and then you drink until you can see it on the right.
What use is a goose? Sandy Toxford.
Is it toilet paper? No, seriously.
Sandy, that is bizarre. Why did you say that?
Well, because I once read this book by Rabelais, I think it's called Gargantua, and he recommended that the best thing for toilet paper was a live goose. And I have yet to check into a five-star hotel without a sense of disappointment.
I have the quotation from Rabelais' Gargantua. I have, answered Gargantua, by a long and curious experience, found out a means to wipe my bum. The most lordly, the most excellent, and the most convenient that was ever seen. I wiped my tail with a hen, with a cock, with a pullet, with a calfskin, with a hare, with a pigeon, with a cormorant. There is none in the world comparable to the neck of a goose that is well down, for you will thereby feel in your knockhole a most wonderful pleasure.
So I love that. Why do we need swear words when you've got knockhole?
Yeah. We ought to hear it from Mary Anderson, 1903.
Mary Anderson.
Do you know about Mary Anderson?
I do. Mary
Tell
Anderson.
me about her.
She invented the windscreen wiper.
Yeah, absolutely. You are a phantom.
Well, what I love about that is that it had to be a woman who invented the windscreen wiper, because up until then, men have been going, don't be silly, dear, I can see perfectly well. Actually, Ronnie and I were talking about how wonderful boys are, because they live in this kind of very kind of clear world about themselves. And when my son was about 6, he had a friend over, and his friend said, what's it like having 2 mummies then? He said, it's marvellous. And he said, if one of them's poorly, you've still got one to do for you.
Excellent. Which is most dangerous? 1,000 bananas, half a litre of wine, 1.4 cigarettes, or 2 days in New York?
You could fall on quite a lot of those banana peels.
This professor from Stanford developed the micromort. And a micromort is a 1 in a million chance of death.
So how many micromorts in a banana?
Well, if you take the normal background risk in the UK, it's actually 41.6 micromorts. So the chances of sudden death in Britain from leading a normal life are about 4 in 100,000.
What, 4 people die unexpectedly from eating a banana?
No, that's background. This is just background. We're not come to the bananas yet.
Sorry, I'm overexcited.
Yeah. Your ordinary risk of dying suddenly is 4 in 100,000.
I've got it now.
Right, but activities that raise the level of risk from 41.6 micromorts, which is the average risk we all share, by 1 micromort alone are smoking 1.4 cigarettes yourself, 40 tablespoons of peanut butter.
So, I'm still on the bananas. You have to... You have to eat 1,000 bananas.
If you ate 1,000 bananas, not necessarily all at once, because that would kill you straight away.
Yes.
Obviously, you'll burst. The point is, for every 1,000 bananas you eat, your chances of sudden death increase by 1 micromort.
What is the matter with scientists? Who is going to eat 1,000 bananas? Why would you eat one this out?
Yeah, you don't know. Over your lifetime, I've eaten 1,000 bananas.
Yeah, I reckon about.
So should you be counting how many bananas you've had? No,
it's only 1 micromort. It's a 1 in a million chance.
But how does the 1,000th banana kill
Because of
you?
the level of radioactivity. For every 1,000 you eat, you already got 41.6 micromorts.
I feel unwell.
What key role did a Puritan pig play in the trial of George Spencer in 1641?
Is that the actual pig we're looking
No,
at?
that is not the actual pig, because that's a photograph of a modern pig posing as a 1641 pig.
A rather similar picture of myself at a spa.
You've got 2 fewer nipples.
Well, certainly the nipples were a surprise. My grandfather had 2 glass eyes, and yet he could see. So what happened was he's sad. He lost one eye. I mean, he wasn't careless. He was ill, and he had a glass eye made, which was perfect, exactly like his other perfectly working blue Scandinavian eye. And then he had one made that was bloodshot, and it was known as Grandpa's party eye. And he kept it in a box on the mantelpiece. And when he was going out for the evening, he'd take out the false blue one, and he'd put in the bloodshot one, and he'd say, I'm going out now, and I shan't be back till they match.
Oh, that's brilliant! That's brilliant. Fantastic. Now, why don't we have more women as guests on QI? You may well ask.
Oh, I know this. No, really. That's so female. No, after you. Is it because women are just not funny? Yeah.
No, that's right. But we're good at other things. We're good at raising kittens and knitting cakes.
Yeah. I've heard this a lot. I've heard that women aren't funny, and I think there's a truth in this. I think that there is a scientific, possibly, relationship between a sense of humour and the male sex organ.
People are always laughing at mine.
Yeah, well, there you are.
with the fact that people always say there aren't as many female comedians as there are men. Because you know what? There are loads of female comedians. It's just that we just don't see them because they're systematically rounded up and kept in a pen just outside Harwich. Yes, Harwich. But you can go and see them and you can adopt them online. Yeah. And you can go and you can visit them and you can feed them lines and you might get a joke back sometimes. And then sometimes some of them escape and they disguise themselves as male comedians. But you can always tell which ones the male comedians are, the ones with the beards. Just like Life of Brian.
Bill Bailey.
Bill Bailey.
Clearly a woman.
But you know, it's really rare to be allowed to sit next to a female comedian. I don't know what they worry that our cycles will suddenly synchronise or something.
I'm not. I'm in disguise. I'm Rory Bremner. I'm actually...
Is it because once you get them started, they don't shut up?
You don't clean a teapot,
You should never
David.
clean a teapot.
No.
Under no circumstance.
Well, okay.
Used as a teapot.
If you came in and couldn't find the loo one night.
I have only a hunch, but I sense a hypothetical situation. This is not a hypothetical situation. I've only ever used a teapot for tea. But occasionally, if you make sort of tea in a teapot once in a blue moon when you can be bothered in a vague attempt to seem more civilised than you actually are, you then sort of leave, still got a bit of tea in it.
left
some
it to
tea
go
mould,
cold.
you rinse
leave
it out?
No, you don't rinse it out because you forget,
stains.
because immediately you're tired of being civilised and you want to go to the pub. You leave it there for weeks and weeks and months, and then when you have a look at it, it's gone disgustingly mouldy.
And it's talking to you.
Yeah.
At that point, the flavour that you would get if you didn't wash it from your next cup of tea is, if anything, too characterful. The thing that seems unfair to me is the number of people who are expected to pretend they care about jobs they don't care about. You should be allowed to say, look, I'm fulfilling my contract. You can't put in the contract, also you have to seem like you give a shit. I think that's expecting too much. Yeah. That's why I really like the fact that we live in a country with such poor customer service. I've got respect for that. You know? This is a horrible train, you're tearing tickets. Of course you're in an awful mood.
Now that you've put it like that, I shall feel better about it. You're right. Why have a cheesy grin on your face if you are working in an awful supermarket?
Well, it's the sign either of a liar or a moron.
Yeah.
You know when you find a bee and it's crawling on its last legs?
I always rescue them.
You give it honey. It's the only thing they eat. Makes sense when you think about it.
Isn't it true, though, that a bee in his entire lifetime makes an absolutely tiny amount of honey overall? I mean, just a minute amount of honey.
Yeah, but
so you don't have to give much rehabilitating honey to this one bee before the nation, the world, is making a net loss from that bee. It's useless. If you only get 1 teaspoon of honey from a whole bee's lifetime, and every time we have to get it back on its feet, it takes a teaspoon and a half, suddenly there's no honey at all.
This is more honey than this bee has seen in its life.
Yeah, you're insulting it, apart from anything else. It's like showing a very tired mason a whole cathedral.
Very interesting and surprising, because almost everybody thinks that vertical stripes make people look slimmer. In fact, in prisons, sometimes women have asked for vertical rather than horizontal stripes so that they look leaner, or they think they'll look leaner. But it turns out, research from a man called Dr. Peter Thompson of York University has discovered that the large majority think the one in the vertical stripe is larger than the one in the horizontal stripe when they are the same size.
Surely this shows, actually, that it makes no real difference at all. Because we're determining whether wearing vertical or horizontal stripes makes you look thinner. Yeah. And you can't tell by looking. You have to do research. Yes. The difference is so slight, you have to do research with hundreds and hundreds of people. Basically, people look as fat or thin as they are.
I beg to differ.
I have a friend who's quite short, and he likes to wear vertical stripes because they make him look taller.
Only when he's not standing next to anyone. He's It's not going to make him look taller than a taller man. It's all relative. He'll just say, oh, there's a normal-sized man next to an enormous man. And then you go, oh, thank God, he's taking his striped shirt off. It's actually a tiny man next to a normal man.
I've missed your angry logic, David, I have to say.
I think it just alternates, doesn't it? For ages you think, OK, vertical stripes make people look thinner. Then you say, oh, she's wearing vertical stripes, therefore she must be fatter than she looks. Therefore you start thinking, oh, she looks fatter because she's wearing vertical stripes. So suddenly horizontal stripes start making you look thinner because, oh, she must be thin, otherwise she'd never dare wear horizontal stripes. Then they go, oh, no, horizontal stripes make you look thinner. Oh, she must be fat, she's wearing horizontal.
What would you use one of these for?
Hmm? What would I use it for, or what is it meant for?
Oh, isn't this for fish? Getting things out of fish?
Ah, interesting thought.
On the Swiss Army knife, there's one for scooping out a fish eye.
They're not as difficult to get out the eye of a fish, are they? They're pretty squidgy, unless the fish is still alive. Fish don't blink, which is the main eye defence. If you're ever trying to get the eye out of a fish and it blinks, it may be a lion.
Which is correct of these grocers, or grocers? It's grocers apostrophe.
One of the requirements of being a sign printing company is having a basic knowledge of where an apostrophe goes.
They know, I'm convinced. All sign writing companies know, for example, how to spell accommodation. They must. And I reckon when they say, OK, we're doing a sign for your guest house, would you like our normal service, or would you like our deluxe gold 5 times the price service? Well, we'll check your spelling for you. And everyone goes, no, it's all right, I'm not going to pay 5 times as much for you to check the spelling. They go, OK. Inevitably, OK, we're going to paint the word accommodation the way you've put it there, are we? In the knowledge that they'll have to get called back all the sooner when the people finally realise they've got it wrong. It's just every time you see accommodation properly painted and misspelt, the sign writer knew. With bloody mind, he'd be putting it out there wrong, knowing he'd get a repeat gig all the
You can
sooner.
see how long it's been looking for a flat.
When was the First World War first named as such?
The outbreak, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand.
You think they called it the First World War straight
Before
away?
it started.
It would be an act of a pessimist to call it the First World War that early, surely. It's going to be some point after 1939, isn't it?
A realist, surely. There's going to be more of these.
Yeah.
At what point?
Excuse me. I think what I said, people in the box, is after 1939, which may contain 1939, but does not mean it.
No, well...
OK. No. I think after 1939 and after the Second World War are not synonymous. Now, this is just giving you time to type after 1939. Why don't you just type, Mitchell is a cop?
I wouldn't put it past them. And finally, how many brains did the man with 2 brains have?
2.
Yes. That's brilliant. Yeah, he's wise enough to have spotted double bluff.
It's just the technique of the bully. You go, you hit us. And then you go, oh, what do you think I was going to hit you? I'm not going to hit you. Oh, I'm just as my hand to stroke you. And we're here.
Which of the following M places is made up? There they are. Misak Setafet, the Mountains of Kong, Made Up Arura, Merv. Yes, Sammy.
I'm going to say Made Up Arura only because it has made up literally in its name.
There's some logic there, and you're new to QI, and I'd like to be merciful, but I'm not going to.
All right, fair enough.
But in a sense, all names are made up, aren't they?
to the logically ruthless world of David Mitchell.
The father of history, what's he called?
Herodotus.
Herodotus. Because it must have been a lot easier when he was around. I'm not having a go at him.
No, it's a fair
But less
point.
things had happened back then.
Fewer things.
Yes.
I think. Someone would tell you that.
Common usage. Play common usage cards.
It's so like being back at school. It's unbelievable.
Apparently, you can say less or if you want to now.
Apparently, you can just say what you like these days. Apparently, that's
You can
the new
literally
thing.
say less if you want.
Apparently, you're not allowed to scream idiot at people. What was the point in getting an education at all? I know how to use the apostrophe. Apparently, now it doesn't matter. What I want the time it took me to learn that back.
There he is, Bertie Russell.
He
Marvellous figure.
wasn't a barrel of laughs, was he?
They say that his breath was not good. I mean, that's in the biographies of
It
Keynes and his
wasn't good.
contemporaries. He had very bad breath. But he was a remarkable man. And he wrote Principia Mathematica, which was a book determined to reinvent maths, because set theory produced all kinds of paradoxes which seemed to suggest that nothing could be proved or complete or consistent in mathematics, which was a huge shock. And so he had to set out to prove mathematics worked from the very first principle.
Very, very good at Sudoku.
He was, oddly enough, he was said not to be that good at mental arithmetic. But so in order to prove mathematics from the very beginning, you have to establish the first principle of arithmetic, and that piece of symbolic logic was proving that 1 + 1 = 2.
It's a bit late, the 20th century, to prove that. I'd say.
You're a bit late.
We've got quite a lot riding by the 20th century on 1 + 1 being 2, you know. Quite a lot of engineering happening, quite a complex international economy.
Oh, please.
If
I
you
know.
find out that it doesn't equal 2, what do? Just burn everything. Because God knows anything could fall on our heads. Money, you might as well eat it. Forget civilization.
Well, there is a general thought that if what were considered to be the sound foundations on which all mathematics rested were proved to be rocky, that it may mean that some of the ultimate answers of the universe will never be answered. But it's rather splendid to think you would give so much effort into proving
What
1
an
+ 1.
extraordinary achievement.
It
And
is.
You just have to bring up his halitosis.
I know, that was silly of me, but I love
You
that.
know, it
He's
comes
a great...
to something where you think you've achieved that.
Imagine meeting him at a party.
Old
though.
Stinky Russell.
I met this bloke at a party. He stank. And when I asked him what he did, he said he proved that 1 + 1 = 2.
You've all got the equipment, as it were, so you can make one yourselves.
So exciting.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah,
Already,
brilliant.
we've begun with the thrilling excitement.
Awesome.
Will the show have to pay something to the format holders of the Generation Games?
I'd like to bend
It is a bit generation game, you're right.
Let's
Put
just...
this in
What do we do
first.
with that?
We
Yeah,
inject
go nuts.
colour in, I think.
Inject colour. You've all got different colours to make it thrilling.
Oh, it's a low.
Don't
Like
put
that.
too much of the effervescent hangover cure.
I put all of it
Okay.
Did it?
Slightly
Don't put too many
manic,
pills
Lark,
in.
it's sort of...
And now just put a little of the...
No,
Yeah,
put
just a
loads
little,
in. It's
just put a
brilliant.
little in, yeah.
Look at your bullshit lava lamp.
Mine is dry.
Your lava lamp is...
Hey!
Well, steal
It's
another one of
happening.
your...
It's all happening in our corner.
You see, when it explode now, hopefully.
I can... No, you don't. No.
You're no fun. Stick another one in.
I'm
It's
a
a
responsible adult. There has to be one on this programme.
Look at all these little balls.
I'm nervous of having
Stop saying that.
This genuinely reminds me so much of school. You said, don't put all the Alka-Seltzer in, and then Alan said, we're putting it all in, as a result. And I've gone along with him, and now I'm frightened.
You know the one in trouble.
Sir did it.
You made me laugh. You made me laugh, David.
He was laughing at my corner.
I told you before.
You're in trouble.
It's not funny. There's nothing funny about making people laugh. Hang on, that may be, but...
Fingers on buzzers. Where is this cheese from? I'll give you a clue. It begins with S. Alan.
Shropshire.
I don't know what made you think of it. it.
Sometimes, you know, sometimes you
yeah.
say the obvious one,
Yeah.
and then you go, yes. But never to me.
It doesn't come from Shropshire. Anything else? It begins with an S, does not come from Shropshire.
Spain, Sussex, Surrey, Scotland.
Scotland, it comes from Scotland. It absolutely does. It was originally called Inverness-shire Blue or Blue Stewart, and I don't know why they thought if they renamed it Shropshire, people would be more likely to buy it. So it was a PR job.
So is it quite a recent invention?
It's a fairly recent cheese, yeah. Rather like Stinking Bishop.
Oh, yeah, that's like a made-up oldie-worldy thing, isn't
It's
it?
1973 it was
Like
invented.
hobnobs. They're quite recent.
Are they?
Yeah, the hobnobs. Oh, that's an old biscuit. I'll have a hobnob. It's about something like 1981. I resent the hobnob's quick entry into sort of... It's a quick biscuit to refer to. In a joke, you'd go, oh, a hobnob or whatever. No, hobnob, you're new. Leave the biscuit references to the rich tea and the digestive. They've done the time. It's like the bloody ploughman's lunch. Add executives' inventions.
And tonight's show was sponsored by Hobnobs. To whom we can only apologise.
You have a choice of venues for dinner tonight. Russia or France. Describe the difference between Russian and French service.
Isn't almost all service now is what you call Russian service, which is sort of you have food in courses, one after another. And French service, which obviously the French don't, they have food in courses like everyone, like the Russians. But French service was everything sort of coming at once, like a kind of buffet.
That is an absolutely perfect answer. David Mitchell, have a handful of points. Completely correct. Yeah. And, of course, there's the tapas and Mazedis principle in lots of Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cooking. But you're absolutely right. The French, right up until the 19th century, all the courses would come in one big go, and you just helped yourself to everything. And then the Russian Prince Kurakin, who was the ambassador to Napoleon's court, he came and said, we have had this brilliant idea in Russia. It's used one course and then another. And this was considered absolutely staggering and revolutionary, and it caught on.
Then the Americans improved on it by making it able for you to drive through in a car.
Yes.
And get it in a bag. From a 16-year-old.
They did indeed.
With shingles.
I mean, David, I have to call you my teacher's pet, and you get a special fanfare instead of a forfeit for that, because that is absolutely brilliant. There you are. So you are teacher's pet.
I don't feel that cool.
It's not a cool thing to be, I'm afraid, but you do get points. And for some people, that's important. Escoffier was the man who introduced this into private homes and, more importantly, into restaurants. What do you know about Escoffier? Anything?
David will know.
Yeah.
He started Frog's Legs.
You're absolutely right.
And I only know that because I went on David's radio show and found it out.
Oh, sure. Also, I should at this point say, in the QI annual, I did a page on Escoffier. So I would quite well...
Let's hear
this
it.
could be a good bit.
First name?
Auguste.
Brilliant.
And he...
Died in...
Oh, I can't remember.
Terrible house fire.
19...
He died in 1935. He lived a long time, 62 years.
And he sort of founded the Ritz Hotel in Paris and the Carlton Hotel in London.
And the Savoy.
And was the chef at the Savoy.
Brilliant. And what's his most famous dish?
Well, he invented peach Melba, didn't he?
Yes.
Dame Nellie Melba.
For Dame Nellie Melba.
And also apparently invented Melba toast for her as well, because she was dieting in between peach Melbas.
And who was Nellie Melba?
She was an opera singer.
And what was her real name?
Mitchell.
Yes, very good. I am so
her
impressed.
father was called David Mitchell.
Get out. Do you know?
This is like
I am truly impressed. If anyone thinks this is set up, it truly
You
is.
are tumescent, I know you are. Where's the fruit machine now?
Well, talking
facts.
Anyway, I mean, I don't know, can I make you a double teacher's pet? Yes, I can. I'm going to give you another fanfare, because that was so extraordinary, your Danish... Yeah, look at that. Bravo. Yeah.
I don't want to rain on your parade, but if you look closely, Stephen's pupils have gone 10 times bigger.
I am, as Alan rightly said, aroused by people who are passionate.
Sitting by there. It's quite nice. Everyone seems nice. I'm having a nice time.
Yeah.
And yet, we've had the question, what did Hitler get right? which is exactly what my grandmother told me would happen if I went on television. Last night, I had an anxiety dream about coming on here. I was so terrified of it. And in the dream, I was sitting here, I think I was on the other side, and you were asking the question very sternly.
No.
Yes. The question was, why was the March hare so important to the Aztecs? And I didn't know the answer. And I said, did they worship it? And the screens went, worship it, worship it. Which was absolutely terrifying.
Stephen, ask the question, let's make it happen.
Yes, come on.
I'm such an amateur, I didn't even Google the answer.
Anyway, why was the March hare so important to the Aztecs?
You see? Thing is, Victoria, whatever you dreamt was the answer is the right answer.
Yeah.
No, but I know the answer isn't, did they worship it? Because...
There is a kind of answer that maybe your subconscious somehow knew. They worshipped rabbits, not hares. There are many people who believe that the rabbits were jackrabbits, which are, in fact, technically a type of hare.
And a J word, which makes...
And a J word. Burn the witch. Well, can you tell me anything about jousting? What the rules were of jousting?
You have to get a point if you hit their shield or their breastplate.
You're absolutely right. You win the joust if you get 3 points.
But in the dinner show at the Excalibur Casino in Las Vegas, the winner is the last one to jump off their horse.
Do they really have that?
Yes, it's a brilliant show because they've got King Arthur and he fights against his long-lost son, Prince Christopher.
Ah,
this is the Excalibur English-themed casino, where it's sort of Harry Potter, Robin Hood, King Arthur and the Queen are all roughly the same vintage.
Do you have to dress as a wench?
You say have to.
Name some common Egyptian characters. Egyptian. Oh, yes?
The Eye of Horus.
What are the chances?
I want to know why the Eye of Horus isn't a common Egyptian character.
Because it's a hieroglyph, and hieroglyphs were only used for special occasions. Ah. So they were not common. In fact,
I think you'll find that there were many special occasions in Egyptian.
Yes. The thing is, a normal everyday form of writing in Egyptian was hieratic. So it's a simplified version. It's a much more cursive version. There it is.
That's a rarefied klaxon.
Frankly,
yes?
Victoria, they've set you up there.
Yes, I do. Can only describe it as a trap. So you have them on Early Connect, do you not, hieroglyphs? Use them?
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
In our first series, it was Greek letters.
Right.
And people wrote in and said, we like the show, but we find that pretentious. So we began, I think, Series 3 with an apology, saying we'd like to say sorry to everyone that's been enjoying the show, but they found the Greek letters a bit pretentious. We've listened. It's your BBC. You reached out. We've heard you. Please choose your Egyptian hieroglyph.
Here are 4 J birds. There is something that allows you to recognise them that a bird spotter would call their...
Jizz.
Yes!
Jizz.
Quite right.
Jizz. Jizz is an acronym, not... Don't think of where you might think it's going. It's the general impression, size and shape.
So there would be a book I could look up on the internet when I get home, Jizz on Birds, and that is fine.
Yes. Absolutely right.
I came here to talk about the Aztecs.
Will you accept my personal apology? But we have the 4 birds we showed you. It was a Juan Fernandez tit tyrant.
Oh, God, here we go again.
There are points for knowing where the Juan Fernandez Islands are.
Juan Fernandez.
Breastcock Lane?
That's the spirit.
You are getting into this very much.
Aren't there versions of poker where they kind of introduce wild cards and stuff to kind of get it? It's the same sort of thing.
As Martin Amis once said, in chess, the properties and powers of a bishop are fixed. In poker, it's wobbled through the prism of personality. But do you know when he said that, Stephen? It was after a poker game that you and I and he
Yes,
all
I remember
played
in Wales.
many
With the
years
then
ago.
unknown Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais, who was
Made
knocked
rather-
out, got up, said, "What am I supposed to do now?" And you said, "There's a shotgun in the drawer."
I have got 3 bottles of wine. Victoria, so you know nothing about these wines. Let us imagine that you care for all wines in rather similar manner.
I can make that leap of the imagination.
Thank you very much. Which one would you purchase based on the price?
On those prices, I mean, all of them. I'd still get change.
People have wine stoppers. What's the point of that?
What are they for?
Which I love. Should we put the bottles away? What do you think? Do you want me to give me yours?
I am putting it away.
No, give me yours.
What do we know about the word lunch? Good L word, lunch.
Lunch on?
Oh,
Yeah,
now,
yes,
you see,
luncheon is how it
interestingly-
started, yes.
Well, as a matter of fact,
If-
it isn't.
Yes.
It was lunch first, and people extended it to luncheon because they thought it sounded smarter.
Quite right.
It is. I've made a whole programme about this.
It
Honestly,
derives from an Anglo-Saxon word,
it does derive from
from
an
nuncheon.
This is like watching two great stags together.
It doesn't, but it doesn't. Where do you think the phrase ploughman's lunch comes from?
From ploughmen's having their lunch.
No, it was invented by the Milk Marketing
Oh,
Board,
yes,
and in
that's true.
investigating
In
the
pubs and
history of
pubs and
that,
things. Yeah.
we discovered that that's very disputed whether lunch comes from nuncheon.
Well, until about the 18th century, the word nuncheon is used. You'll have it like nuncheon. And nuncheon has a very clear derivation. It comes from noon, as in midday, schench, which means drink. It was literally a liquid lunch, nuncheon.
30-15 fry.
One of these words on this board has 28 separate meanings. And I'm going to put those meanings up, and you tell me which word it is.
It must be jigger.
Golf
It must
club.
be jigger.
Jigger is the right answer. 5 points for Victoria. The word jigger has all those definitions. It's a measuring device, a jigger of rum.
Yes.
A snooker rest, an odd-looking person, Bill. Sorry, I'm just an odd-looking person. A distillery.
Don't say vagina and then point to me.
People do complain that there aren't any good words for vagina. There's no way of saying it that sounds nice. Jigger is not the answer.
There was a young lady of Poole whose soup was excessively cool, so she put it to boil by the aid of some oil.
It was a recipe from Heston Blumenthal.
There is no more harm in a kiss than...
Shaving a monkey and pretending it's a woman.
And finally, a male black widow spider and a female black widow spider have just finished having sex. What happens next? Yeah, Ross.
Tiny cigarette. It wouldn't be a tiny cigarette, would it? It'd be 8 tiny cigarettes. Should we do it again?
There's a particular shape, a sort of circular triangle, which, when it revolves, a part of it makes a square.
A circular triangle?
Well,
So,
around...
oh, no. This is your first time. This sort of thing happens all the time.
It's a sort of circular triangle.
And it makes a square.
It's not the fact that I'm boggled by that. It's the fact that I now realise there's a possibility that you could have a Toblerone Rolo combo.
You've dreamt about for years.
Do you know the weird thing?
Roblerone.
Do you know what will freak you out completely, Ross Noble? Is the name for this form of triangle is a rouleau. It genuinely is.
I'm not joking.
I think you have to have points for that. You somehow found a triangle that was a rouleau.
It's a rouleau triangle, it's what it's called, and it's a very particular shape.
You know, if we come on this show and we discover things, what I'd like tonight is I've just discovered that the best 3 words to hear in a Geordie accent are Toblerone Rolo combo.
Thanks. Now everyone I meet's going to go, could you say Toblerone, please? Go on, Geordie man, dance first.
Yeah. You've got to form a band now.
Yep.
All right.
Called that.
Me and Cheryl Cole.
Yeah.
Her, me and Jimmy Neal.
Yeah.
As a team. Ladies and gentlemen, the Toblerone Rolo combo.
It was the Croatians who first brought the notion of wearing something. They wore a little small knotted...
Am I a time traveller?
Spooky.
Oh, my God, they found out my secret. Fire up the machine, we must travel back.
It's where we get cravat from. It's from the Croatians. Then it took off and the Parisians loved it. King Louis XIV was so obsessed with his cravats, he had a cravatier who used to lay out cravats for him to choose. Really. Yeah.
God, I've put on a bit of weight, haven't I?
Have a look at a hagfish releasing slime and tell me you could produce as much here. Here's someone manipulating it. That is producing that. It can turn a bucket of 20 litres of water into slime in minutes.
Great party piece.
Isn't it?
I actually think my baby daughter might be a hagfish. Yeah, because that's nothing. to be honest with you, I've got that on my trousers every morning.
It also can tie itself into knots, which is another impressive thing. It literally does a slip knot or an overhand knot. It's quite bizarre.
Given the choice, if I had to have special powers, I'd like to be bitten by one of them. Because excreting mucus would be... You know, because like Spider-Man, he's all very well, do a bit of climbing and that.
Slime
but imagine
boy.
if you just sat in a chair and somebody went, do your thing, and you went... It would be fantastic. It'd be brilliant. Because if somebody tried to get you in a headlock, you just go...
That's exactly it. That's what it does.
Yeah, Ross, superheroes are meant to help people. How would you help people with this mucus? You know, like Spider-Man helps people. How would you help people with this mucus?
Oh, there's a child who's got his head in the railings. Of all these moons, like, this is the one thing I wanted to ask you. Of all these moons, which one's most likely to be the home to Ewoks?
It would be Titan.
Titan
Has got a thicker atmosphere than the Earth.
Oh.
So you'd need to be furry.
Good answer. I remember a chemistry lesson at school, and it still, to me, was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. So chemistry master came in. Someone had prepared in the, some liquid nitrogen. We didn't quite know what it was. And he came with this beautiful rose he'd just picked from the garden, and he just dipped the rose in like that for a second, and then smashed it on the table, and it shattered like glass into 1,000 pieces. Isn't that lovely? Don't you think that's gorgeous?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
We just
I think you're humouring me.
No, I think it's a hilarious Valentine's Day prank. There you go. Not for you!
Can you imagine the surface of Saturn's moon Titan? That's so cold that it's got
hang on, I
liquid
know
methane.
Titan.
Liquid
Titan's
methane.
the one where the Ewoks live.
Titan, yes.
Go on.
You see?
So, hang on, I've got it. So basically, you're saying you can shatter an Ewok?
Yes, because it's got lakes of liquid methane.
Wow.
Because it's so cold.
Oh,
and
really?
the methane behaves exactly like water on Earth. So you get methane rain, you get methane snow, methane ice, and lakes of methane. There's a lake there which is as large as Lake Superior.
Of methane, which is essentially a fart, liquid fart.
Yes.
I don't want to go there. Strike it off.
You know what? If I could stand on a planet and throw an Ewok into a lake of fart, that'd just be... that'd be like...
Smash it into a
But you
fart.
couldn't, because it'd shatter. So you
Even
wouldn't...
better! So, Right. So I could be tossing Ewoks into a lake of fire.
That's your heaven. Everyone has their own heaven. That's yours.
Is, oh.
When you say tossing Ewoks into a lake of fire.
Yes. Steady.
No, that's exactly what I meant. You know what? After this show finishes, I'm off. I don't care. You'll never see me again. Where is he? He's off tossing Ewoks again. Into his lake of
may well be
on a pedalo made of smoke. my uncle had a dog named after Charlie Mingus, the jazz musician.
Yeah.
And he would cut Mingus. But the problem is that he's got the same accent as me. He'd be in the park and he'd just be shouting, Mingus! Mingus! And the local girls thought that he was... Mingus! Piss off! Mingus! What do you call him Mingus? And it led to all sorts of problems.
I'm sure it did.
Right, fingers on buzzers. If I toot my horn and flash my lamps at exactly the same time, what is the first thing that you will notice?
I am the
Oh, that's you quick on the buzzer today.
You've taken up dogging.
When we lived in Australia, my wife bought a horse and she's desperate to try and get me to ride, right? So she said, I bought this horse, it's really docile, you'll be fine. So I got, well, no, there was actually, the problem was it was too docile. What happened was it ended up being studied by Melbourne University because it was one of the few horses that was medically got narcolepsy. So I swear to God, it's one of the rare cases of a narcoleptic horse. She says to me, it's fine, the horse is narcoleptic, get on it. And so I got on it in full motorbike gear, because I wasn't taking any chances. I sat on this horse, and it started to just... And you know, normally you kick a horse to make it go. This one, he kicked it and it would go, what? Hey, like that, to make it up. And sometimes it would fall asleep against the electric fence. So it would go like that. Oh, hey, oh! It's like Jack Douglas from the Carry On.
Oh, well, that's my kind of horse, thank you.
Digital rectal massage.
I.e. putting a finger up a bottom and having a bit of an old wiggle.
I never knew that the bottom was a passage to so many cures.
When you say digital rectal massage, was there a point where it changed from analogue? I remember because I think there was a big campaign on the TV at the time.
Yes.
And they were going...
People going, oh, no, it's not a very good signal.
It's not as warm.
Get up on the roof and adjust the area.
I'll tell you what.
Hurry up.
I'll tell you what, I can't wait till 2012.
It's somehow colder, isn't it, the digital? It's not as warm as the analog.
Yeah, but it's a lot more vivid.
It is more vivid.
I have some snuff for you to try in different flavours. You can see whether the lid is lying or not. These special QI lids. You can take it if you want. You obviously inhale it up the nose.
You do it all, right?
Oh.
You're going to smell it all.
Don't do it all, no.
It's very sharp. It is. It's sharp.
Oh, you're licking it.
Gums. Oh, moustache. It is quite sharp. You have, what's your flavour say?
It says Christmas pudding.
You got Christmas pudding?
Right. Honestly, it's fine. It's good. Put it in your eyes.
Now, let's move on.
What happens in the rhubarb triangle?
The marzipan fighter planes go missing.
It's a nice...
Do they not pick anything up on the licorice radar and then they suddenly start talking nonsense and gingerbread men, good men,
brave,
fought in the pudding wars. Just vanished, and the wives are stood there holding their eyes, going, this is all they found.
I want to live in your world, Johnny Vegas. Why do women make the best fishermen?
They're all descended from mermaids.
It's a very sweet thing. I don't know that that's true.
I can imagine you whispering that into a girl's ear.
And in 1654, they negotiated a deal with the octopus witch to let them also have the voices back.
I'm still asleep.
I need to write this down.
If I can teach my kids this.
It must be. This is
16.
It was a massive summit.
It was. You might be right, Johnny. I'm not sure.
It was
I'll
like
check.
It was like Rivers of Blood speech because a lot of the mackerel were told to short.
What? I see that now. Okay. Okay.
I think I actually know this.
Yes, go on. Tell.
I did know a bloke. He used to get his wife to give him a discarded pubic hair because there was a chemical in it, and he used to her-rig his boilies fishing for carp because they think that it gives off.
You're absolutely right. This is what people think. You're right. You're right.
I'm a pervert for years.
You're right that this is what people think. As it happens, it is completely untrue.
Now, what's this? What's this? Pass it down. Just all you've got to do is tell me what it is. Have a taste. It's, I promise you, not poison, despite being green.
It's not wasabi, is it?
Wasabi. Well, you would be served this if you were to go out around London and go to most Japanese restaurants, and I would have a taste. I mean, whoa!
As close to wasabi as you can get without it being wasabi. I nearly took a mouthful of that, you know. It's not a joke.
I can't take chili, but I can take...
I put a load in because you said it wasn't...
You said it's not wasabi.
It's not wasabi. I'll tell you what it is.
It's not jackass, it's QI.
What you're eating there is horseradish. Now, you may say wasabi is Japanese horseradish, but the wasabi you get sold in British restaurants is almost always ordinary British horseradish dyed green.
No.
Yes, because real wasabi, although it's related to horseradish, takes 2 years to mature and it's very expensive to transport. So it's much easier to use the British stuff, which grows on railway sidings and is cheap as chips, to use that instead.
You know what, Stephen? That would have been lovely just if you'd explained it and used some bloody pictures. Rather than give us some and go put that in your mouth.
So sorry. Yes.
I can hear things like a dog does. It's done things in me. This might have been way over my life to become a superhero, and all you had to do was give me a bloody spoonful of that. See through walls.
Now, cornflakes were invented by accident, but what were they originally used for?
Food, glorious food!
It was... Originally, they were the world's most difficult jigsaw. It's the original...
It was for putting in mattresses for monks as an anti-masturbation sound trigger device.
Johnny Vegas! Take some points.
You're joking!
It's unbelievable. Well, you didn't get it precisely right, but the point is they were originally designed to discourage masturbation. They were... absolutely... It was not actually by the noise you would make if they were a filling for a mattress, which was your idea, which is a reasonable idea. But it was John Harvey Kellogg, as you probably know, and his brother, who had the Battle Creek Sanatorium, and Kellogg and his brother, there's John Harvey, I think, was obsessed with their hatred of masturbation.
They made gloves out of them.
That would be a lacerating experience, I grant you. But no, it's...
Whereas Cocoa Pops...
Every exam I sat at school,
yes,
you must
I put masturbation as an answer. Walked away with nothing, but stuck with that idea, and it's paid off.
Now time for a short interval. Who wants an ice cream?
Me.
Yeah, go on. Take a couple. We've got some left over, of course. Wow. There you go.
Thanks.
Johnny?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you, my love.
I've got chocolate. I don't really like chocolate.
I've got raisin. I don't like raisin.
Do you want a swap?
Yes. No, I'd like vanilla, please.
You can have another flavour.
I've got strawberry.
That'll do me.
All right. Oh, you've already had a bit?
Yes! How else would I know I didn't like it?
What do I did? Just sniff it and lick it.
People who sniff
Don't take a lump out. You must have very warm hands, because this is already melted. It's all my superpowers. Mine's turned into a slushie.
Yes! You go to a dinner party and they've forgotten to get the ice cream out of the freezer. I just hold it against my neck. Spoon soft in seconds.
Well, there's barely anything you can make of it.
Right.
I don't want to do this in front of Stephen.
No.
But the next time we're up at ice cream, just...
This is what I think life would be like in a nursing home.
What are these men looking at?
Their feet.
No, there's something
Their
higher
genitalia.
up. It's higher
Their
than
navels. They're navel gazing.
Yes. They're engaged in omphaloskepsis, or navel gazing. So the Greek for navel is omphalos. And apparently it's an aid to meditation. It doesn't look like what they're doing, does it? But in some yoga practices, it's regarded as an aid to meditation.
It looks like they're thinking, these pills I bought on the internet are not working.
They're very varied, aren't they? I mean, belly buttons.
An innie and an outie and a kind of
Mine,
natural horizon.
honestly, if you combine it with my man dress, whenever I take my top off, it looks like my midriff has been rejected for a loan. It looks so depressed, like it's filled out all the forms and everything.
But if you stand on your hands, does it look like it's got the
Well,
loan?
I could turn it upside down and it looks like it's in tax exile.
So do they fly or glide?
Neither.
I've seen them and they fly for... Sorry, Johnny, I'm so excited, I must say this. They fly for ages. When I saw them, my first flying fish, I couldn't believe they were really fish because they flew for so long and they weave and they sort of duck and dive like that. And I thought they cannot possibly be fish because they flew for so long. They flew for minutes and minutes and minutes and then suddenly they all go plonk and they're gone. So you know they were really fish.
I don't know what you were eating or drinking on that occasion. I have it here on pretty solid authority that 30 seconds is a long time for them to stay in the air in one go, which is a long glide, 30 seconds. But it appears that they glide.
I was going to tell Pam she probably witnessed a duck.
A duck. Well, I heard what he said. It wasn't a duck. It was not a duck at all.
No.
Is that what he said?
He may have done.
Now my sister breeds ducks, so I know the difference between a duck and a flying fish.
It just looks to me like you keep telling me to F off.
Why do columns around the Parthenon look straight?
Because they are.
You see, I don't think I know this, but I think I'm going to say something embarrassing.
Go on.
It gets wider, doesn't it? So that it looks straight, because it's further away at the top. So in order to stop it looking like it's tapering, they made it wider.
This was the theory for a long time. It's a thing called entasis, that if a column is exactly straight, then from a distance it looks as if it bows inwards. It looks spindly. So the secret is to make it bow slightly outwards, so from a distance it looks elegant and straight. But it turns out this isn't what they did after all. And that Alan's very first answer, which is they look straight because they are straight.
That's not a question.
No, I know.
Why does this man look thin? Because he is. That has taken me on a whole circle, a train of thought. I'm going, there reason they look straight is because they are. And you're going, this is why I struggled in school.
It's the Q of
If a train travels at 40 miles an hour and leaves at 9 o'clock and arrives in Glasgow at 12 o'clock, how did it get there? And you're going, because it did.
It's sort of that. It's the Q.
It's not sort of that. It's very confusing.
It's the Q of QI. It is going round in a circle, but with a little twiddly bit at the end.
Why does that look straight? Because it's not. That would have been a question.
It might have been.
Why does that look straight? Because it is!
Sometimes...
Because it is!
Sometimes things look... Please don't be unhappy, Johnny.
I'm not! I'm just confused at the start!
Fine. Let me unconfuse you, because the same man who discovered...
I try!
You do, you do. How many muscles are there, incidentally, in your fingers? How many?
20 tiny fingers.
One if you play your cards right.
Look at you. Oh, this is dreadful, boy. I'm not going to pay any attention to you now.
Put the pencil in.
Oh, Lord bless you. Oh, do you have children, though?
No.
Ah, well, when you do, then maybe...
No.
You plan not
No.
to?
There's no when, Stephen.
There's no...
No.
You're not going to adopt a little, shiny, little
A
baby?
shiny one? Are they varnished? Can I varnish one?
I don't know. They might be more attractive if they're shiny. It's not my field,
Then
I don't...
Stephen revealed his plans for a child buffing workshop. Where craftsmen would get toddlers to a high sheen.
More lacquer, little boy.
You're the shiniest one. We should put you in the Harrods window.
I'm still alive in here. I'm still alive in here.
Why, I can
Help
see...
me.
I can see my face in your face.
What are the beer goggles? What is the Latin term?
Beer goggles?
Yeah.
What are they?
When you've got the beer goggles on, it's when you really fancy someone who normally you wouldn't fancy.
Oh! So you would refer to someone as a 7-pinter?
Yes. Stephen doesn't have beer goggles, he has Madeira pince-nez.
Imagine with Stephen it would
Oh, you're a cracker. More Madeira? A small...
A sherry monocle. Hey, you've got the sherry monocle in.
Rot as my head. Which is the odd one out here? Paris, London, Poland, or banana? I think Phil got there first.
Poland and banana are both the odd ones out, Stephen, because Down and Out in Poland and banana would be a terrible book.
None of them is the odd one out, is the answer. Do you know why?
What kind of a hellish quiz is this?
Fair point.
What one's the odd one out? None of them.
Hey, is that me?
That's you.
Oh, bugger you. I don't sound like that. Where might you bump into the world's biggest drip?
Right.
No!
The biggest strip is in a cave?
It is in a cave,
It would be a stalactite.
Is the right answer. Well done. Absolutely right. The Gruta de Mato in South America has the biggest of them all.
How big is it?
Vast is the answer.
Thanks for that. How big is it? Oh, very.
I
If I was to quantify its bigness, would be doing it a disservice. Just how bigly big, the vastly big bigness of the dripping thing. I would feet, meters, anything. Throw me a f***ing bone for it.
Each of the panel also has, I believe, a swazzle, a small device used by professors of Punch and Judy. And what do they say with it? Oh, very good.
Which way does it go?
Watch the film here of the setting sun. All I want you to do is hit your buzzer at the moment the sun has dropped below the horizon. Speed it up, obviously.
Eyelids are heavy.
It was you got there first. Well, too late. Well, too late. That is the moment at which the sun is below the horizon. What we see is a mirage. Now, I'll try and explain it to you. Light from the setting sun passes through our atmosphere at a shallow angle. It's gradually bent as the air density, the pressure, increases, not dissimilar to the image of your legs when you sit in a swimming pool. The effect is to artificially raise the sun in the last few minutes of its decline. And by coincidence, the amount of bending is pretty much equal to the diameter of the sun. So it's exactly as it's, there, that it's actually disappeared.
I hate this show.
Oh, Be interested in, please.
The sun is there.
I know.
And you're going,
no.
It's the sun.
Not there. Wrong. Because New Zealand is so low on the planet, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And the sun comes through quite a lot of atmosphere to get to it. And at the angle of it, when it hits the road, causes a lot of blindness in the eyes of drivers.
Right.
I dare say that the drivers in New Zealand, as they see the sun setting, are reassured to know that it's not there.
Which way does the bathwater go down the plug hole in the northern hemisphere?
Fry, Cambridge.
Whichever way you want it to. You can push it to go one way and push it to go the other. I've tried it.
Oh. Yeah, that's true.
Stephen, what are you doing in that bathroom? I'm pushing it to go one way. I'm pushing it to go the other. I'm the master.
Now, why is Santa off the rich list?
Is it because he may not be real?
Have you dreamt of it?
Thank you!
Oh, poor Phil.
Phil, that got a klaxon, so that can't be right.
Don't worry, back you go.